Welcome back, everyone. Our final session tonight will be Izzy Lima, and Izzy will talk to us about being the person your dog thinks you are, the importance of maintaining good karma. Enjoy.
Can I start?
Yep.
I have never been in front of this many people. Okay. All right. So, hi, I'm Izzy, and thank you for joining me on this lovely Wednesday night. Now, if you came here thinking I was going to talk about dogs for 15 minutes, I am so sorry for the false advertisement. Although I will promise you that I do talk about dogs for at least a little bit. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. And to start things off, I want to take a trip down memory lane to elementary school, right? So this was the period of time where we started learning how to read, started learning basic multiplication and division, and even picked up some social skills along the way. This was also the period of time where we had those super dope scholastic book fairs, which I think we should still have in high school, and I think it'll make people read more, but that's besides the point. Anyways, during elementary school, we were taught a distinct set of rules every single day. Those rules being raise your hand to ask a question, no running in the halls, and always wash your hands after using the bathroom and before snack time. These were the good times when remembering to wash your hands was one of the biggest concerns you had and one of the biggest things you had to worry about, which is quite ironic for today's current situation. But all jokes aside, these rules all seem very obvious now. But when was the last time you remembered to use the most important rule of all? The golden rule, right? Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. This was once embedded and emphasized over and over again as children, as if it were written on the back of our hands. These words that were written in sparkly gold lettering above my third grade teacher's desk should have been engraved in my brain by now. But I'm going to be honest, it's something I have to constantly remind myself of. But when it came to middle school and high school, we were taught a variety of subjects ranging from the arts to the sciences, learning old and modern day literature and even the quadratic formula. And it felt like I was constantly exercising my brain to the maximum capacity. And although these subjects benefited us academically, I began to realize that we were spending so much time on trying to meet this 4.0 status quo that we started focusing too much on becoming better students as opposed to becoming better people. Now that is easier said than done. To be a better version of ourselves is something very achievable. But we need to first acknowledge that change is needed. We need to be open-minded. We need to be good listeners. We need to be willing to forgive ourselves and others, and we need to take action. Now, these are the fundamental principles of what we refer to as karma. But since karma is a rather religious spiritual topic, I'm going to reflect it from an alternative perspective driven by mindfulness. Now, when you first hear the word karma, what comes to mind? Because usually karma is associated with negativity, kind of like a natural curse of the sort. Like if you do something bad, it'll eventually come back to you. And although in some circumstances this can be true, it is also true that if you do good, that good will eventually come back to you. Sort of like a boomerang, right? But you must remember that karma has nothing to do with fate, universal justice, or punishment. And it's quite the opposite of fate, which is believing that your future is predetermined and unchangeable. Seems kind of boring. But with karma, it is actually believed that you have the future in your hands and you are responsible for your own actions. And now there's two ways to approach it. So there's fear-based, right? And this is the approach looking at karma like it's you reap what you sow, and that karma is the consequences, both good and bad, that judge you for your actions. But the real raw approach to karma is love-based. which is looking at karma like a gift that gives you lessons for your soul's personal growth. And karma will continue to bring these lessons back until you have learned them and applied them to your life and the decisions you make. But you must keep in mind that no matter what you think or do, you cannot cheat your way around karma. And what I mean by this is that even if you think you are doing a good deed to give you good karma, it is your moral purpose and intent that actually matter. So an example of this could be donating to charity. Not for the better good, but instead to post a picture on Instagram and to boast to your Instagram followers that you made a kind donation, just for a couple likes. Or you donate to charity in order to impress someone you like. That is bad karma. Want an example of good karma? Take my mom, for instance, right? My mom is the most selfless person I know. And during this quarantine, she decided to make masks out of shop towels to donate. But the thing is, my mom has never owned a sewing machine or never even remotely knew how to sew. But she decided to spend her time at home learning a new skill that could potentially help or aid others in the process. So after making over 100 masks to donate, my mom began to notice little things happening in her life that were very out of the ordinary. So, example, going to ShopRite in the midst of quarantine, right? Very chaotic. But somehow, without fail, almost every time my mom went to ShopRite, she would walk in, not have to wait in any line, and walk out as fast as she walked in. But to her surprise, as she walked out, there would always be a line stretching to the parking lot. And the thing is, this didn't happen only once. It happened multiple times. And people could say that this is some crazy coincidence, but I believe that that is one of the most, or the best example of good karma. Because she didn't do this to brag or boast to her 500 Instagram followers, but instead did it because she wanted those who were struggling to feel safe during these chaotic times, regardless of the fact that we ourselves were also struggling. But anyways, let's go back to how to be a better person through karma, right? So it said there are 12 universal laws to karma, which I won't list, but instead I'll offer shortcuts to understanding the bigger picture so that I don't bore you all, right? So first, we know that our actions have consequences. Second, keep in mind that you can only change your life by taking action, but you have to accept things in order to change them. You need to change yourself before you change your environment. And what I mean by this is, take a look at this scenario, right? You're on an airplane and they call it an emergency, right? And the oxygen masks fall from the ceiling. Now you were instructed to put the mask on your face first before putting it onto your children or the people around you. But don't get it twisted. The intent here and the motive here is not to be selfish, but to instead ensure that you yourself is safe before offering liable help to those around you. But the most important aspect of karma, surprisingly, is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And that's called empathy, right? And although we hear this word a lot, we often get it mixed up with sympathy. But to differentiate the two, sympathy is seeing the problem from your own perspective, with your own understanding and your own judgment. While empathy, on the other hand, is seeing the problem with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. And you want to know something interesting about empathy? Let's take a look at rats, right? So I was obsessed with rats growing up. Now, as weird as that sounds, I don't know why I was personally drawn to them, but it even came to the point where in 3rd grade for Halloween, I dressed up as a sewer rat. And I don't mean some cute like Mickey Mouse costume. I mean this. This is me in the yearbook, right? But besides the point. Right. So when we first think of rats, we think of them as filthy, gross animals that live in sewers and actually make up half of New York City's population. And although we know these things, Did you know that rats are actually one of the animals in the animal kingdom that show the most empathy? And this was proven through a new study by researchers in Japan who suggested that rats will save each other when placed in a stressful scenario. So they took a box with 2 compartments and divided it by a transparent wall. They put 1 rat in each compartment. 1 rat was on a dry platform, while the other rat was submerged in water with only a ledge to cling onto. Now, the rat on a dry platform was given a very hard choice. On the left of that rat was a tempting piece of chocolate that he could go to anytime he wants. But on the right side of the dry rat, there was a round door that, if pushed, would open a gateway for the rat that was drowning to safely get onto the dry platform. Crazy enough, 80% of the time, the dry rat chose to save its drowning companion as opposed to going after the chocolate, which demonstrated that the urge to empathize and helping their own was strong, if not stronger, than the desire for food. So step back. Why are we so quick to judge and label these creatures because of their appearance when they naturally hold more empathy than us and love each other like their own? And now I'm not asking for you guys to like magically start loving rats, right? But I just think it's crazy that you can learn important life lessons and morals from these animals just by observing their behavior. And I bet you never thought about that, because I know I didn't. But to make this more relatable, let's stop talking about rats and focus upon dogs, which is what inspired me to name this talk, Being the Person Your Dog Thinks You Are. So I have 2 dogs, but I'm much closer to one of them, and her name happens to be Hazel, right? Now, Hazel knows me. And when I say this dog knows me, I mean she feels emotions so deeply that I'm scared that sometimes she could read my mind. And now, because of this, I treat Hazel like a person. It's come to the point where even at dinner, Hazel has a chair set up for her at the table. But I remember one morning, I forgot to feed Hazel before leaving the house, and my parents were already on their way to work. Now, they got really mad at me for forgetting, and I was already angry and frustrated for other reasons on top of it. But keep in mind, that means Hazel went the entire day without food. And so as I came home, I was preparing myself to get yelled at, finding every reason in the book to blame my parents for not reminding me, as opposed to owning the responsibility of forgetting. But as I opened the door, not to my parents yelling, I opened the door to Hazel wagging her tail and jumping on me like she had just met Oprah. And I asked myself this: is she really this happy to see me when she hasn't eaten all day? As I got to my knees to pet her, my eyes started to get watery, and she stuck her face in between my arms and let me hold her. What I recently learned is that dogs respond to human crying the same way they respond to whining puppies. So let that sink in for a second. Yes, dogs feel empathy for us. And Hazel showed me through a simple gesture that sometimes it's better to forgive and forget and think about what comes next rather than fixating on the past and holding grudges. They say dogs are a man's best friend for a reason. I just wish I could see myself the way she sees me. And I wish we could see each other the way she sees me. But now you may ask me, right, what does karma, empathy, rats, and dogs have anything to do with our current lives? Well, class of 2020, do not be mistaken. This year actually wasn't a total waste, right? Even though we didn't get to traditionally celebrate second semester or have a formal prom or a real graduation, we are being given the opportunity to take part in something much bigger than these 4 years combined. We have united as people. And in the words of Oprah Winfrey, never has a graduating class been called to step into the future with more purpose, vision, passion, and hope. we are the chosen class. Which means now is the best time to start the journey of self-discovery and becoming the best version of ourselves, not only for us, but for our families, our friends, our ambitions, and for our future. We did it. And just remember, be a reflection of what you'd like to receive. If you want love, give love. If you want truth, be truthful. If you want respect, give respect, and what you give out will always return. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That is all I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't know how to end this.
Hey.
Yeah,
Izzy!
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job. Hey, thank you. Hey, thank you. Yeah.
Go.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Basin.
everyone for coming out. Good job to all of our presenters tonight. Special shout out to the class of 2020.
Let's
Be
go,
safe
Mr.
out there.
Muhammad.
I know
I
that
don't
voice.
even go to the school.
Be safe, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good job, Izzy.
Thanks, guys.
Izzy, you're awesome.
Bye.